Hi guys, we're going to do something really fun and really dear to my heart today. We're going to talk about drawing with Sharpies. In general, it would be drawing with alcohol markers, but Sharpies is where I started. So you don't have to have expensive stuff like Copics or Prismacolor markers to do something fantastic. And to get started, we're going to do it this way. Now you're saying, well, those art markers are really easy to blend and they do some really fantastic things. And you're right. But those sorts of things can be easily replicated with a technique that we're going to use with plain old rubbing alcohol. And I'm going to show you how to do that today with this and some regular Sharpies and some off-brand Sharpies by Bic. So they're not even Sharpies, they're just alcohol markers. But anyway, the case is that we're going to do this today. So follow along, grab any kind of alcohol marker that you've got. If you don't have alcohol markers, grab your Crayolas and you can do the exact same thing with water. Let's get started. All right, you guys, we're gonna get started with our first drawing here. We've got some little mushrooms to practice this with, and I love the simple shapes, and I love that these are really fun. You can just use your imagination and go wild when you color these things. Because at this point, let's face it, trippy mushrooms don't have to have any kind of color scheme that are specific. So we're gonna do it with this, we're gonna try our alcohol on it, and then I'm gonna take you step by step how I got this look, okay? So I'm gonna use this over here, set this to the side. You don't have to do any of the colors the same. In fact, I just have a random bunch of colored markers here, whoops. And none of these are gonna end up looking the same from start to finish. So pick what you've got, use it, and it will turn out great in the end. Okay, so for this shape, I've got my mechanical pencil here, just a regular old 7mm pencil with an eraser. We're just gonna do some sketching and lay this stuff in. Now you're gonna notice, I should say before I get started, this is just regular sketchbook paper. I've doubled it over, folded it so that there's a bleeder behind it, and then there's another piece of paper underneath it. This is all necessary for when you use the alcohol. It's gonna bleed through that paper and you don't wanna stain whatever surface you have underneath it. You probably want to put down even a little bit more than this, depending on how heavy you go in the alcohol. But I'll show you that as we get closer. Okay, so for our 3 little mushrooms, we're just gonna make some real soft little shapes. I'm not drawing real darkly because I'm gonna put an actual outline on it when we're done. So we're just gonna make a little bell shape, a little chunk missing out of it, and a little short stem. Just something fun. And number 2 is a little fat, roundy type mushroom. These don't have to look like anything specific. They can just be really gentle. They're little mushrooms. They don't really, you're not gonna hurt their feelings if you don't draw them the way I've drawn them. So, a little tall cap on this guy, curved bottom. Okay. A little bit farther down to meet the line for the floor. Okay, so that's basically it. That's just our really, really simple little layout. Now, when you get started with these guys, I recommend that you get a light color. I know that that's maybe a little counterintuitive. You think about Sharpies, you don't think about pastels or light colors, but they come in all kinds of colors these days. You can get these groups. For Easter, I think they even had a set of like 5 or 6 colors that were really, really light. This is a Bic marker. It's a Market, not a Sharpie. But this comes in a whole set of light colors, and these are really inexpensive. So if you don't even want to spend the money on Sharpies, these are a great alternative. They're permanent just like the Sharpies are, and they're alcohol-based. So we're going to get started with this color, and we're just going to go over our lines. No line work required, just outline. Just like that, okay? So we're gonna do some dots. We're just gonna draw in our polka dots. I do recommend using these in a ventilated area. Sharpies are very strong, and if mom, or if you're young and mom and dad don't let you do it, please don't do Sharpies if they aren't there to say yes. Other than that, please just use a ventilated area, because otherwise you'll be having a good time that's not art related. So we're gonna fill this in just really simply. And you're gonna say, well, this is gonna leave streaky lines because that's one of the problems with using a Sharpie. That's exactly right, they do, they make streaks. But with the rubbing alcohol, the technique we're gonna use today, you're going to eliminate all of that streaking, which makes these a lot more viable as an art tool, in my opinion. So you can see all this random, these lines and the shapes that come up with the drawing. And what we're gonna do is as I fill this in, we're going to do all the light colors first, and then we'll go back in with our darks after we've done our alcohol wash. So this is just a really fast. You don't gotta make it perfect because you're gonna smooth it all out. Okay, so there's one part. And here's the second. So we're gonna just take the next color that we're gonna do for the little stem and fill this in. Your markers don't even have to be good markers, they can just be crazy markers. This one's dying, but you'll see the difference this alcohol makes when you put it on there. Okay. I try to keep track of which ones I've used already and which ones I haven't. So this pink up and across. And just fill it in. Okay. Here's a different purple, and I'm just going to outline this guy with that. Give this a little stripe. And then this light green for the cap on this one. Do some stripes. I love doing mushrooms because they can be as weird and funky as you want them to be, and they can be a fun way to play with color and try out different things. So if you like certain color combinations or you just want to see what they look like together, this is a great way to practice that. Okay. We're going to do this one. Okay, all right. Now we're going to do just a little bit of a ground line. Very, very simple. Okay, so here's the fun part. You're going to take a napkin. I use just a regular old paper towel. And you're going to take your rubbing alcohol. You're going to take your cap off. And you're just going to soak, oops, or you're going to spill it. That's okay. It's rubbing alcohol, it'll dry. But you can put it on here. Set that aside. And you're going to just dab this rubbing alcohol all over this piece, right around the Sharpie parts. And you'll see it'll get kind of funky, like it'll start looking like, literally like you spilled water over the top of it, but it'll start messing with these shapes and this ink, and it's almost immediate. You can really begin to see it. Pick up some extra over here. More. And the more heavily you saturate, the more the effect is going to show up. And in fact, here's a really great example. So on my original, I spilled this earlier. See what it's done to the inks and how it's made it run? That's the effect we're going for, just not in that intense of an idea. But you can start to see how it started to move the ink around here on the cap of this mushroom specifically, and down here where I dropped some. So it's really a fun technique. You could actually just color a whole page and start dropping alcohol over the top of it to see the effect of it. It's really awesome. So we've got that. Let me see how dry this is. So you gotta let this dry just a smidge. And in fact, I think I'm gonna let that dry just a moment, and then we'll cut through and we'll come back, okay? Okay, so here we go. We've got this all dried out. It's a little bit damp still, but it's not terrible. It's enough that I would be pretty comfortable using it. So we're gonna go in with another color, a darker color this time, now that we've let this kind of permeate in here. And since it's still just a little bit damp, you're gonna see these colors are gonna blend just a smidgen more than they already would have if it was just a Sharpie. You can really see it right in there where that was a really deep drop of alcohol. Okay, all right, so we've just done a little bit of outlining. We're gonna give it a little bit of texture here. Okay, so I like that. Now for the little cap under here, we're gonna outline. And you can go over these colors together. The sketchier the better, in my opinion. See how the paper was wet here? It kind of made a texture. I like that texture. Okay, so let's see. I think this was the other color that I used. Yeah, so if you want to do more blending and you don't want to necessarily get out the alcohol, excuse me, these Sharpies, when you go over each other with them, and you layer them, will also blend each other. So if you want even more color blending, just use more Sharpie. Okay, so on this pink one here, I'm gonna go around it. And you can see how much smoother a lot of these turned out from all of my strokes because of the alcohol. I don't know about you guys and where you're from, but in Texas, all of the allergens are out right now, which is why my voice sounds crazy. And some little texture marks here. Just something fun. Okay, so now on our third little guy, we're going to use this dark green marker. And you can see how the marker spreads out wherever I have already used the alcohol and it's still damp. It's going to do that wherever that alcohol is still sitting. It's going to take that ink and just diffuse it. So I like this a lot, but I want to do a little bit more diffuse, so I go back over with the same color I had before. Just sketch over it. And look, it pulls that blue down a little bit. It kind of breaks it up. So I'm going to use a little more pink on this side. Up here and these guys, just some little texture dots. Nothing specific, just random. Okay, now on this guy, I want to do a little bit more alcohol and I'm going to diffuse some of these spots. Yeah. That have these little textures in them. And sometimes the alcohol will make the Sharpie run outside of your lines. I think that looks cool because it's really like funky and fun, and nothing needs to be inside the lines all the time. I think that just makes art a lot more unusual and unique. And you know, you could do a whole drawing in Sharpie and end up laying it in a vat, like a pan full of rubbing alcohol, and it would totally diffuse it and make it look really funky fresh, which is a lot of fun. just add a little more ground in here. And I'm going to do a little bit of line work with one of these, which is this one. So this is a Pigma little brush pen. It's not alcohol soluble, so this one is going to be water-based. So this isn't going to do anything to it, but it gives a really nice little fine point. And you can get these on Amazon. You can get them at Hobby Lobby. You can get them in lots of places that sell liner brushes. So we're just going to give this a real soft, sketchy little outline. And there we go. Okay, y'all. I think that's it for this guy. I hope you enjoyed doing this with me. I hope you got to see some technique, and we will go carry forward with this technique in the next video.